Hey, welcome back to the Happy Man Coaching channel. I'm your Happy Man coach, Charlie McKeever, and in this video, I want to talk to you about some of the generalized characteristics of a female. One of my clients sent me a link to a podcast where the title of it was Why Women Avoid Accountability. Now, this can sound very salacious. It might actually grab somebody's attention. It might upset one person and make another person take notice, but in general, there are some characteristics of a female that we can talk about that kind of speaks to this title. It's important that we hold her in high regard when we talk about these things. We're not trying to disparage a woman. We're actually trying to acknowledge some of the characteristics of the nature of a woman, just as we might have the characteristics and nature of a man. And neither one of those would be deficient, better than, worse than. They would actually just be us trying to honestly see that particular gender and say, hey, there are some characteristics about that, some biological characteristics, some beneficial characteristics. In fact, they work in tandem with each other in order to move humanity forward, in order to ensure our survival. And one of those characteristics for a female is that whether she wants to have children or not, whether culturally, socially, individually she decides that she wants to have children, she is actually subject to her biological heritage, to her DNA, so to speak. There is a directive for the female to be the producer and sustainer of life. Now, I know there might be some people screaming in the comments below saying, you know, what are you talking about? That's sexist. Yeah, it is, because I don't have the ability to produce or sustain life with my body, but a female does. And so this gives her the directive to produce and sustain life. Again, whether she actually wants children or not, she didn't ask for it, but she was handed it and she is subject to it, which means, right, if we can go ahead and just take that premise just for a moment, which means that she is going to collect resources. She is going to keep her options open. She's going to align herself with others who can help to protect her, who can help provide, who can help do the things that are important to the producing and sustaining of life. And as much as we want to talk about strong men and fathers and homes and families and all that kind of stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with those things, but ultimately she can't guarantee that he's not going to get eaten by a bear. And that's going to leave her on the hook to sustain life. If she's produced life, she'll just have to need to sustain life. And that means that she's gonna want to keep her options open. So when we have a title about why women avoid accountability, it can sound very negative, but in fact, it's actually a positive. It's actually her leaving her options open. It's her making sure that she can fulfill that directive of being able to sustain life. So if you start looking at things from that perspective, a lot of things make sense, because look, we've only been doing electricity, indoor plumbing, and cell phones for a very short period of human history. In fact, most of our modern conveniences, most of our modern conventions have only really produced themselves in the last 100, 150, maybe 200 years. So we are relatively new at this game, and we're still working with the old wiring, with the old hardware, with the old firmware, right? The old software. So these things are, again, we didn't create them, we didn't ask for them, but we're subject to them. So you start thinking about things from this vantage point, and you start realizing that it makes a lot of sense. That she's not deficient. There's nothing wrong with her. She's not crazy. She's not she's not a female dog. She's just adhering to that directive for the producing and sustaining of life. She's subject to it, right? She's subject to it. Alison Armstrong talks about this in Understanding Women. If you don't know Alison Armstrong, I'll put a link in the description below, but there's a book, a workshop, an audio book that she produces called Understanding Women, and she has researched men and women, and she explains men and women to each other. That way we can understand and appreciate and really be able to see each other. And there's also another book out there, The Man's Guide to Women, which is John Gottman. Dr. John Gottman is a PhD who does a lot of research and has produced a lot of material, a lot of research material on women, the nature of women, how important safety and security is to them, not just physical safety, but also emotional safety, financial safety. And when you really start to get down to it, isn't that what it's all about? Being a human being, showing up here on planet Earth, not really having an owner's manual, a secret guide where we know exactly how we work and what we're about. There's things that even surprise us about ourselves that we're not really sure or clear on. It can be confusing, it can be frustrating, especially when we relate it back to our sense of self and we start telling ourselves stories about our self-worth and our value as it relates to our romantic partner, as it relates to our interaction with the opposite sex, all of that stuff. And the more we start to learn about the opposite sex, the more we actually start to learn about ourselves, because we have to actually get to the point where we're saying, well, how do I work? And what's important to me? What do I value? And who do I want to be, and how do I want to show up? And that's what I do with men. That's the conversations that I have all day long, all week long with men. We get on calls, we talk with each other. I ask a man, what is it that you want to do? What's important? What lights you up? Where do you see yourself going? What is it who do you want to be in this life? What do you want to experience? Who do you want to experience it with? And sometimes he doesn't know. A lot of times he doesn't know because he's spent a lot of time trying to make other people happy. He's trying to please his girlfriend or his wife. He's trying to make his family members happy. He's trying to make his kids, his boss, his friends happy, and he's not spent a lot of time thinking about what it is that he wants. So these are important conversations for us to have. Once we understand ourselves better, then we understand what we have as far as our desires, what we think we have as far as needs, where we're getting those needs met, who we're trying to extract those needs from, who we're trying to get to meet those needs, how that makes us feel in terms of feeling powerful or powerless, feeling dependent, feeling victimized, how that affects us emotionally, how it drags us down, what story we're living into, what are we creating in our lives. These are all the types of conversations that I have with a man. And he tells me what's important to him. I'm not talking to him, telling him how he should live or who he should be. I'm simply listening to him, asking some questions for clarity, reflecting back to him what I hear, pointing to some resources, sharing some personal insights, and giving him the opportunity to go into the recesses of his own mind, pull up what he believes about himself, his world, about being accepted, about being loved, about being safe, about surviving. And then he takes that information, those insights that we talk about, that we share, that he reads in a book like The Man's Guide to Women or Understanding Women by Alison Armstrong, and then we talk about that. And he goes in and reconciles for himself what he believes about these things and who he wants to be, how he wants to show up in his life, what he wants to agree to, what he doesn't want to agree to. And in fact, he may not even realize it, but he may not have the boundaries that he needs in order to care for himself, in order to accomplish, to achieve what he wants in his life, in order to feel connected to other people, in order to feel connected to himself. And that's the kind of thing that we talk about, and that's what I want to talk about with you. So let's have a conversation. Let's talk with each other. Go to happymancoaching.com, click on the contact tab, fill out the form that I have there. It's a few simple questions just to get to know each other, just so I know who I'm talking to. And then we'll set up a time to talk on the phone. Just on the phone, old school talking on the phone, not having to do Zoom calls or any kind of crazy internet, whatever. We're just going to talk to each other like we did when we were kids. And we're going to listen, and we're going to talk and relate and get to know each other. And then from there, you're going to get the insights that you need in order to make choices for yourself, in order to own yourself, in order to be able to live your life the way that you want to live your life. And things like how a woman thinks or what's going on with her, become something that you are able to now better understand and not need to control and not be frustrated by and not feel left out or feel left alone or feel disconnected from. It's something that you can actually be able to understand better and live as you want to live. So go happymancoaching.com, click on that button, fill out that form, let's set up a call, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being here. Bye.